That's all he needed. During this time, targeting info went to 3 Buratai rocket systems placed 22 miles inland. At the same time, a Ram-2 attack drone was readied at a close military airfield. 2 Neptune anti-ship rockets, changed for hitting boats, were loaded into moving launch boxes hidden under fake covering. No expensive fighter jets, no huge artillery guns, just a few carefully picked weapons chosen for hiding, speed, and crushing deadliness. The method was simple. Let Russia enter the killing area, then wipe them out completely. By 3:23 a.m., all systems were ready. Russia, still sure of their perfect secret operation, kept moving west. Ukraine had drawn a line, not on charts, but in time. Please help us by clicking like and subscribe. The real bloodbath is about to start. Keep watching. At 4:42 a.m., the Russian group entered the chosen kill area, a bay surrounded by tall banks and muddy swamps, perfect for soaking up radar signals, but also a natural soundbox. Inside this closed space, engine noises bounced inward, but outside sounds couldn't get through. Not knowing they were being watched, the 6 Russian boats kept their exact formation, each ship placed exactly 40 meters apart to avoid crashes. They were 120 kilometers from their target beach, but now only 17 seconds from total destruction. At 4:42:13, a single order went out from the Ukrainian war room: fire. The first hit came from land. 3 Buratai rocket batteries hidden in a grain field fired a full blast of 80mm tuned rockets built for area destruction. Each rocket carried a high explosive braking warhead, able to punch through armor and burn exposed troops. The rockets curved upward, then screamed down onto the water in a focused pattern. 4 seconds later, the second wave struck a Ram-2 suicide drone, a converted LEA-100 aircraft. Dove from 5,000 feet at a 70-degree attack angle. Its 4-kilogram double warhead crashed through the bridge of the front boat before exploding, causing chain explosions from ammo stored below. The blast waves pounded the remaining boats, but the attack wasn't finished. From 60 kilometers away, 2 R-360 Neptune cruise rockets raced in low across the waves, staying just 15 feet above sea level to avoid detection. Using ground-following navigation and active radar seekers, they locked onto the heat marks from the boat engines. One rocket hit directly in the middle of the command boat. The second crashed into a craft loaded with fuel barrels, making a fireball that lit up the entire bay like midday. In less than 150 seconds, the water was churning with flames, smoke, and screams. Russian troops jumped into the freezing water only to be killed by metal pieces, waves, or fuel-fed fires. The attack ended almost as fast as it began. The outcome: all 6 boats sunk. All 24 armored vehicles lost. Over 320 Russian troops either dead or missing. Only 4 survivors were finally found, burned, shocked, and barely breathing. What made this attack legendary wasn't just the size of destruction, it was how exact it was. Ukraine had used no warplanes, no satellites, and no billion-dollar systems. Just a drone, some rockets, smart tactics, and perfect timing. What hurts more than losing? Being too embarrassed to admit it. Russia uses silence to hide deep shame. By 4:47 a.m., the Black Sea looked calm again, at least to space watchers. 6 boats had disappeared under the surface. Fuel fires flickered across the water. Burned wreckage flowed. July 29, 2025. Right before dawn broke, 6 Russian warboats moved silently across dark waters towards Ukraine. These ships carried deadly cargo: over 380 battle soldiers, 24 heavy war machines, and massive amounts of weapons. Their goal was simple: sneak past Ukraine's beach guards and launch a devastating surprise attack. Russian war chiefs thought their plan was flawless. No spy satellites had seen them. No detection systems had found their path. Every part had been double-checked multiple times. To the battle planners in Moscow, this seemed like a perfect secret mission: hidden forces crossing deadly waters under cover of night. They couldn't have been more wrong. Ukrainian defense commanders had prepared a deadly ambush that would completely destroy this Russian attack. What followed next proves that in war, success remains unknown until the final moment. Here's this incredible story. Exactly at 3:14 in the early morning, while complete darkness covered everything, the Black Sea stayed quiet until it suddenly exploded. 6 Russian warboats built specifically for secret beach attacks sliced through rough waters moving west from captured Crimea. Crammed inside these boats were more than 380 Russian battle troops, 24 BTR-82A war vehicles, and mountains of bullets and explosives. Their target was a swampy bay 20 kilometers east of Maliv. Russian spies had chosen this spot because radar systems couldn't watch it properly. Above, no spy satellites looked down, no watching drones flew nearby, no radio messages gave them away. From the Russian leader's view, this looked like perfect planning, quiet, hidden, and ready for total destruction. Their plan meant building a beach camp before sunrise and pushing north with tank help by 6:00 a.m. Moscow had bet everything on this risky move, but high up in the freezing air, 6,000 meters above the water, something watched in complete silence. An unmarked spy plane, a changed Ukrainian PD-2 scout drone, hung motionless between wind streams. Its heat sensors followed warm targets with perfect accuracy. Just 2 months before, mechanics had improved it with better talking systems and special hiding paint. At 3:15 a.m., it found them, 6 heat marks moving in close order, showing warm patterns matching diesel engines and human bodies. The plane didn't attack. It didn't even move position. It just sent information. Every 10 seconds, the machine transmitted secret bursts of data, pictures, and heat readings to Ukraine's main command room in Kiev. Each picture became clearer than the last one. The data packages held timestamps, locations, and were checked by ground-based radar stations. The invasion had been spotted not by space satellites or tracking networks, but by a $30,000 flying machine hiding in full view. Russia stayed completely unaware. They still believed their secret mission was going perfectly, but now Ukraine had the gift of time, and in battle, timing kills more effectively than raw power. No bullets had been shot yet, but the fight had already changed, and the hunters were about to become the hunted. If it were your choice, would you attack right away or wait for the perfect death trap? Share your thoughts in the comments and learn how a Ukrainian commander makes exactly the right decision. At 3:16 a.m., just 60 seconds after the first drone message, a secret alarm rang inside a protected command bunker under Kiev. The coded video feed from the PD-2 plane went straight to a planning room where Ukraine's best generals, spy officers, and air war experts met. Nobody talked for 10 seconds. Then General Anatoly Vashenko, leader of the Southern Defense Force, stepped forward with his eyes locked on the screen. The Russian boats were exactly where he worried they'd show up, inside the weakest part of the beach defense. If they made it to shore, Ukrainian front troops in Mykolaiv would be trapped within hours. "Wait for my order," Vashenko said quietly. "Not now." The room looked at him with shock. He pointed toward a narrow waterway near the harbor mouth, a natural sound dead spot surrounded by stone cliffs. "They won't hear incoming shots if we hit them there. We wait for 7 minutes. Yet, in Moscow, there was no announcement, no press meeting, no admission of the disaster. The Russian Defense Ministry stayed silent. Its daily briefing made no mention of the beach attack force. Russian state media covered unrelated naval drills in the Arctic, even as multiple independent watching services reported complete communication loss from the landing group since 3:30 a.m. Behind closed doors, panic had spread. At GRU headquarters in Moscow, internal messages marked the operation as probably failed. A leaked court conversation released by resistance groups captured an FSB official saying, "The fleet is gone. We don't even have flight recorders. It's like they knew our plan." The Kremlin's worst nightmare had come true, a total operational disaster revealed not by NATO satellites or advanced spying, but by a cheap Ukrainian drone and brilliant tactical patience. Numbers put together by Western analysts were crushing. Over $120 million in Russian assets, destroyed in under 3 minutes. The Southern Theater lost a mechanized battalion critical for the Mykolaiv attack, a 48-hour delay in Russia's northern push due to supply collapse. Ukrainian officials, meanwhile, made no attempt to hide the operation. At noon, General Vashenko appeared briefly before reporters, saying simply, "When invaders come by sea, they should get ready to sink." The world paid attention. Pentagon analysts praised the mission as a perfect example of unequal defensive warfare. European papers called it the Bay of Death. But what truly worried Russian military planners wasn't the firepower, it was the spy breakthrough. Their supposed radar-blind area had been seen through, not blocked. Ukraine hadn't disrupted it. They had learned to see through it. The PD-2 drone's use of heat layering and height had beaten Russian counter-spy systems. This meant any future beach operation using that method was now impossible. And worse, the servicemen's bodies couldn't be found. Families would get no coffins, only silence. It wasn't just a tactical loss, it was a mental breakdown. And for the Kremlin, silence was no longer protection, it was admission. In a conflict ruled by billion-dollar platforms and satellite-guided accuracy, an upgraded drone costing less than a fancy car had just changed the rulebook. The PD-2 scout drone used in the Black Sea operation was worth only $30,000. It didn't fire a rocket, it wasn't super fast, it didn't even carry a weapon, but its value lay in what it saw and how quickly it talked. Every 10 seconds, it sent real-time heat pictures, GPS locations, and speed data straight to the Ukrainian command bunker. While Russian commanders relied on false safety and guessed blind areas, Ukraine relied on live spy work and discipline. That discipline, mixed with accuracy, became deadly. Don't shoot until you can end it, General Voshenko would later teach younger officers at a military school. You don't need to scare the enemy, you need to destroy them. And that's exactly what Ukraine did. The operation used 3 Buravai launch systems, not cutting-edge artillery, but old platforms improved with digital targeting, a Ram-2 weighting weapon built from a changed scout platform with a 4-kilogram double charge, 2 R-360 Neptune rockets originally designed to sink destroyers, adapted for exact strikes on slow-moving landing boats. None of these systems were revolutionary by themselves, but coordinated under proper timing and spy work, they became overwhelmingly deadly. This wasn't simply a win, it was a statement that Ukraine could cause crippling losses without needing foreign air help or premium equipment. The cost of the entire ambush, rockets, drones, and missiles combined, was guessed at under $2 million. Meanwhile, Russia lost over $120 million, dozens of armored vehicles, and more than 300 elite troops in under 3 minutes. Perhaps more importantly, Ukraine didn't just defend land, they changed viewpoint. NATO experts began mentioning the strike in briefings as a model of unequal warfare. In the US, former Admiral James Grady noted, "It's not about how powerful your system is, it's about when you use it and who's watching the enemy before you engage." The water was peaceful again, but the message was clear. This conflict would not be decided by raw power, it would be decided by spy work, speed, and the kind of thinking that turns $30,000 into a strategic earthquake. In a war often measured by the number of tanks, the price of rockets, or the count of formations on a battlefield, Ukraine's ambush on the Black Sea showed something far more disturbing to its enemies. This is no longer a fight of strength, but a fight of brains. A $30,000 drone, silent, weaponless, and invisible, started a chain of actions that wiped out an entire Russian beach force in under 3 minutes. There were no spectacular air raids, no carpet bombing, just timing, spy work, and accuracy. The Ukrainian forces didn't need superior firepower. They needed only the discipline to wait and the spy work to strike at the best moment. Russia lost over $120 million in assets, 24 armored vehicles, and hundreds of troops, not in a long fight, but in a surgical operation. The sea became their graveyard, and the silence from the Kremlin spoke louder than any news report. For Ukraine, this wasn't simply a win, it was a turning point. A moment that proved their commanders could outthink a bigger army, that courage and brains could beat steel and numbers, and for the world watching, especially those of us who lived through the Cold War, who've seen decades of international conflict, this moment should hit powerfully because it asks a question no commander can ignore. What happens when spy work becomes more deadly than firepower? What would America do in the same situation? Would we wait? Would we strike? Or would we hesitate like Russia did? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe in the power of strategy over brute force, consider subscribing. Your support helps us tell these real stories of modern warfare. This wasn't just a battle, it was a statement. And somewhere, another drone might already be watching.